Hello, sleepy thinkers, and welcome to Sleepy Science Teller. Take a deep breath, let the day fade away, and allow yourself to sink gently into the comfort of this moment. This evening, we'll explore a question both scientific and dreamy. Could human thought travel faster than light? It's a question that blends physics with philosophy and curiosity with wonder. And together, we'll drift through gentle explanations as we prepare our mind for rest. Before we begin, I'd love to know where you're listening from and what time is it for you right now. You can share your answer in the comments. It's always common to see how many different places are connected here, all under the same quiet sky. And if you enjoy these soft discoveries, please remember to like this video and subscribe. It helps this little corner of calm science grow and brings more dreamers together. The speed of light. It is often described as the ultimate limit of nature, a cosmic boundary that no known particle or signal can cross. Imagine yourself gazing at a star in the night sky. Perhaps it looks small, quiet, and steady, yet the light reaching your eyes in this very moment may have traveled for hundreds, even thousands of years before finally arriving. You are not seeing that star as it is today. You are seeing it as it was long ago. Light is fast beyond our normal imagination. It moves through the emptiness of space at nearly 300,000 kilometers per second. That means in just one single second, light could circle around the Earth more than 7 times. When you look at a candle flame in a dark room, the glow seems instant. But what your eyes and brain cannot perceive is that countless tiny particles of light, called photons, are streaming out at unimaginable speed, reaching you almost as soon as they are created. To appreciate this speed, let's compare it with something familiar. Imagine a commercial airplane, one of the fastest objects in daily human life. It flies at around 900 kilometers per hour, but light covers that distance in just over 3 millionths of a second. Even the fastest rockets humans have ever launched, crawling compared to light. If Earth were shrunk down to the size of a marble, light would race around its surface before you could even finish. A single blink. This incredible speed is not just a number, it is a law of nature. Einstein's theory of relativity tells us nothing with mass can ever reach or exceed it. Light is the cosmic messenger, carrying information from one place to another, and the universe itself seems to honor its rule. Yet even as we measure and calculate, there is something deeply soothing about light's constancy. It is steady, reliable, and universal. Wherever you are in the cosmos, its speed is the same. Whether a beam comes from a distant galaxy or from a tiny firefly in the summer night, it glides along at the same ultimate pace. And so, when we ask whether thought could ever be faster than light, we are really asking whether the mind can surpass what physics calls the highest boundary of movement. It is a question both scientific and quietly poetic. Let us drift now into stories of light, for light has always been part of human wonder. Long before modern science, ancient people looked up at the stars. They saw points of brightness piercing the dark, and they wondered what was light made of. Was it the fire of gods? Was it eternal? Was it an instant spark traveling from heavens to earth? The Greek philosopher Empedocles believed that light streamed outward from our eyes, touching objects and then allowing us to see them. Centuries later, thinkers like Ibn al-Haytham and Isaac Newton studied the behavior of light. Using prisms, mirrors, and lenses, they found that light bends, reflects, and reveals hidden colors. A rainbow in the sky, a beam split into its secret spectrum. It wasn't until the 19th century that scientists began to measure its speed. Old Romer, a Danish astronomer, used the motions of Jupiter's moons. He noticed their eclipses were slightly delayed, depending on Earth's position relative to the planet. From these tiny shifts, he realized that light does not arrive instantly. It has a finite speed. Later, in 1849, Hippolyte Fizeau designed a clever experiment with a rotating cogwheel and a distant mirror. A beam of light was sent to the gaps in the wheel, traveled several kilometers to the mirror, and then bounced back. If the wheel turned fast enough, the returning light would be blocked by the teeth instead of passing through. From this elegant dance of gaps and reflections, the speed of light was measured on Earth. And then came Albert Einstein. In 1905, he proposed that light speed is not just fast, it is absolute. It is the same for everyone, everywhere, no matter how quickly you move, or from where you observe it. Light does not waver. And because of this, time and space themselves must bend and flex to keep its constancy true. This idea changed everything, from the ticking of clocks to the stretching of time in fast-moving ships. The universe itself was revealed as a fabric, with light woven deep into its threads. And yet, even in the quiet of our everyday lives, we sense light's mystery. A sunrise spilling across the horizon, a candle flickering in the dark, a flash of lightning that comes before the thunder. These are the general reminders that light is both familiar and eternal. Now, let's bring the story back to our minds. Why does the speed of light matter when we speak a thought? Because when we wonder if thought could be faster, we must first understand what it would mean to exceed such a speed. To travel faster than light is not simply to move quickly. It is to step beyond the very rules of time itself. According to relativity, if anything could surpass light, the normal flow of cause and effect might break apart. Events could reverse. Signals could arrive before they were sent. The universe, in a sense, would unravel into paradox. And so, to ask if thought is faster than light is to ask whether the human mind plays by different rules in the physical universe. Does consciousness obey physics, or does it dance to another rhythm? For now, science leans gently toward the first answer. Neural signals in the brain are bound by biological speeds. Chemical messengers move across synapses. Electrical impulses spark along axons. And though incredibly fast compared to everyday motion, they are tiny runners on a scale of light. But in another sense, our experience of thought feels untethered. Close your eyes. Think of a distant galaxy. In an instant, your imagination leaps across light years. You did not wait for photons to travel. You did not need a spaceship. Your thought simply appeared. This is where the poetry begins. Light is the physical messenger of the universe. Thought is the inner messenger of the self. And though one is bound by measurable speed, the other feels like it flows with no limit at all. So as you rest here tonight, let the idea comfort you that light, swift and eternal, races across the cosmos, while thought, soft and mysterious, drifts through the boundless expanse of your inner world. One is the bridge that carries stars to your eyes. The other is the bridge that carries dreams to your soul. And together, they meet in this quiet moment. As you lie back listening, allowing science and wonder to weave their calming lullaby, close your eyes for a moment and imagine the idea of a thought itself. Where does it begin? How does it arrive? Is it a whisper, a picture, spark? Or is it something deeper, something we cannot truly see, but only feel within? When scientists ask, what is a thought? They often begin with the brain, that 3-pound organ resting quietly inside the skull. made of soft tissue, blood, and countless tiny cells called neurons. Each neuron reaching out with delicate branches, forming connections with thousands of others. Together, they create a vast network of communication. A thought is the activity of this network. It is not a single spark nor a single signal, but a pattern, an orchestra of tiny impulses traveling from one cell to the next. Some signals are electrical, traveling down slender fibers called axons. Others are chemical, leaping across microscopic gaps known as synapses. Each leap carrying a message from one neuron to another. And yet, even with this description, a thought remains mysterious. Because when you imagine your childhood home, or recall the sound of a loved one's voice, or silently plan your next words, what you experience is not simply electricity or chemistry. What you experience is meaning. This is the first great wonder of thought, how patterns of matter can give rise to something as delicate and immeasurable as an idea. From the outside, a brain at work is busy, a dance of signals, a storm of pulses, neurons firing in rhythm and in chaos. But from the inside, it is gentle, quiet, filled with awareness and imagination. This duality of the physical and the experiential is what makes thought so endlessly fascinating. And it is not only human brains that create thoughts. Animals, too, from birds to dolphins to apes, show signs of memory, problem-solving, and decision-making. A raven dropping stones into a jar to raise the water level. A dolphin planning how to play with bubbles. A chimpanzee solving a puzzle for food. These are glimpses of thought in other forms. Yet the human mind appears to weave thoughts into something far beyond survival. We dream, we wonder, we create art, we ask questions about the stars. Our thoughts wander into places not required by biology. And it is here, in the space between need and imagination, that human thought shines most brightly. So what is a thought? It is the flicker of neurons, the leap of chemicals, the hum of an invisible pattern. And at the same time, it is the experience of being. It is you aware of yourself, aware of the world, awake within the quiet of the universe. Now, let's drift deeper into the landscape of thought. One way to understand thought is to see it as a story. Every moment you are awake, your mind strings together details of the world around you, a sight here, a sound there, a memory rising from the past. These fragments become a continuous tale, the story of you, moving to the flow of time. Consider walking into a quiet garden. You notice the soft fragrance of flowers, the shape of the leaves swaying in the breeze, the sound of birds above you. Each sensation is carried by signals from your eyes, your nose, your ears. They arrive in the brain, and in a heartbeat, they weave into a single thought. I am in a garden. This is the magic of thought. It takes separate threads of experience and binds them into meaning. Without thought, you would only have scattered sensations. With thought, you have a world. Another way to see thought is as prediction. Your mind is constantly trying to guess what will happen next. When you catch a ball, your brain is already calculating its path. When you listen to music, your brain predicts the next note. When you speak, your mind prepares the next word before you are even aware of it. Thought is not only about the present, it is also about the future. But thoughts are not always conscious. Beneath awareness, the brain hums with background activity, dreaming, imagining, remembering, problem-solving. Sometimes ideas emerge suddenly, as though from nowhere, a solution to a puzzle, a line of poetry, a flash of inspiration. This is thought in its quieter form, working behind the curtain, waiting to be noticed. And then there are thoughts of memory. To recall a birthday, a smell, a voice is to bring the past into the present. When you close your eyes and picture a childhood room, your neurons replay patterns from long ago, reconstructing an image that feels vivid, even though the moment itself has passed. Thought is many things at once: a process, a story, a prediction, a memory, a dream. And through it all, there is an unbroken sense of self. No matter the thought, there is always someone there to have it. This gentle continuity, this I within the thoughts, may be the greatest mystery of all. Now let us linger with the gentle power of thought itself. A single thought can change the course of a life. An inventor dreams a new machine. A poet writes a line that moves the heart. A scientist imagines a question no one has asked before. And from that single thought, the world shifts. History is filled with such moments. Albert Einstein riding on a beam of light in his imagination. Marie Curie thinking of invisible rays hidden within matter. Martin Luther King Jr. envisioning a world of justice and equality. Each began with thought, soft and visible, but powerful enough to ripple through time. Even in the smallest ways, thoughts shape us. The thought to call a friend, the thought to smile at a stranger, the thought to pause and rest. Each one carries weight, though it passes silently inside. And just as thoughts can build, they can soothe. A calming thought at the end of a long day, the thought of safety, of home, of rest, the thought of drifting into sleep. These are thoughts that guide us gently inward, inviting peace where once there was worry. But let us not forget, thought is also fleeting. Like clouds moving across the sky, one thought passes, then another and another. Some stay for moments, some vanish instantly, and yet the sky of the mind remains, always open, always vast. So when we ask, what is a thought? Perhaps the most soothing answer is this: a thought is a visitor. It arrives, it stays for a time, it passes on. Sometimes it returns, sometimes it is gone forever. But each thought is part of the grand river of consciousness, a river that never ceases to flow. As you listen now, your thoughts drift too. Perhaps they wander to memories. Perhaps they drift into dreams. Perhaps they grow soft, like whispers you no longer need to follow. And in this quiet, as science meets wonder, you can rest in the awareness that thought is not only a function of the brain, it is also the gentle companion of the soul. Close your eyes and picture the body, not as flesh and bone, but as a glowing web of connections, delicate threads running from head to toe, carrying messages in silence. This is the nervous system, a vast network that allows the brain to speak to the body and the body to whisper back to the brain. Every thought, every movement, every sensation depends on these threads. They are not made of wires, though they act as if they were. They are living cells, neurons, stretching like tiny trees, with roots, branches, and slender trunks called axons. A nerve signal is the language of these neurons. It begins as a small spark, an electrical change in the cell membrane, a wave that moves down the axon, as if a whisper passes along a line of dominoes. At the end, this wave reaches a synapse, where chemicals leap across the tiny gap and carry the message to the next cell. This is how the brain tells the body to move, how the skin tells the brain it has touched warmth or cold, how the eyes, the ears, the tongue all bring the world within. But how fast are these messages? If light is the ultimate speed of the cosmos, then nerve signals are the humble runners within us. Their pace is not infinite. It is measurable, real, and deeply fascinating. Some nerve signals travel slowly, just 1 meter per second. Others, insulated by a protective coating called myelin, travel at speeds of up to 120 meters per second. That may sound fast, and it is. It allows you to jerk your hand away from a hot stove almost instantly. It allows you to catch a falling glass before it breaks. Yet, compared to light, this is so very small. Light could circle the Earth in less than half a blink, while the fastest nerve signal would barely cross the length of a football field in that time. And still, for the human body, these speeds are enough. They make thought feel instant, reaction feel immediate, and life feel seamless. The nervous system is not a race with light. It is a system finely tuned for living beings, for survival, for awareness. And in its own pace, it is perfect. Let us now wander into the living examples of these signals. Moments in daily life, where nerve speed shows its quiet brilliance. Imagine you touch the surface of warm tea. The sensors in your skin detect heat. And in less than a heartbeat, a signal travels through your nerves to the spinal cord and up to the brain. The brain interprets this message, warmth. Then another signal flows outward again. Pull back the hand before it burns. All this happens in less than a second. Or think of a pianist, fingers dancing across the keys. Each movement is a carefully timed command from the brain. Each note, a signal racing from motor neurons in the brain, down the spinal cord, into the hands. The music feels fluid, effortless, but beneath it is a storm of signals racing and returning, sending and receiving, faster than the conscious mind can track. Now imagine a sprinter at the starting line. The gun fires. In that instant, the sound waves strike the ears, turning into nerve impulses that race to the brain. The brain reacts, sending signals down the legs to push forward, to run. The entire chain of hearing, interpreting, commanding, and moving all takes place in less than a fraction of a second. This is the beauty of nerve speed. Not the raw numbers, but the harmony it creates. The signals are not as swift as light, but they are fast enough to make life flow without hesitation. Even in the smallest reflexes, we see this. When a doctor taps your knee with a small hammer, your leg jumps before you even realize it. The signal has traveled to your spinal cord and back out to your muscles without waiting for the brain's approval. It is a shortcut, a reflex loop designed to protect the body. So fast, so direct, that awareness arrives only after the movement. In these stories, the nervous system reveals its wisdom. It is not designed to beat light. It is designed to serve life. Now let us step back and see nerve signals as part of something larger, a symphony of communication within the self. Every moment you are alive, billions of nerve signals are moving within you, from the heart, which beats under the guidance of electrical impulses, to the lungs, which breathe with signals from the brainstem, to the eyes, which carry streams of light converted into patterns of nerve pulses. Your body is an endless orchestra of messages. Sometimes, the slowness of nerve signals compared to light may seem like a weakness, but in truth it is a balance. If signals were as fast as light, perhaps the mind would be overwhelmed. Too much information at once, too many sparks without pause. Instead, the body allows a pace that is swift but also gentle, enough to live, to act, to think, without drowning in the storm of sensation. Consider also how nerve speed changes with health. In conditions like multiple sclerosis, the protective myelin sheaths are damaged. The signals slow, stumble, or even stop. Suddenly, actions that were once fluid become difficult. This shows us how precious these speeds are, not infinite, but finely tuned for harmony. And so, the speed of nerve signals is not only a scientific fact, it is a reminder of balance, a reminder that life does not need the speed of light to feel full and immediate. Our nerves are fast enough for love, for play, for survival, for wonder. Close your eyes now. Feel your breath moving gently in and out. Know that signals are flowing silently within you, carrying each sensation, each heartbeat, each awareness, like rivers beneath the surface, always moving, always alive. How fast do nerve signals travel? Fast enough to let you live this moment. Fast enough to let you listen now and drift softly toward rest. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine two messengers setting out on a journey. One is light, a beam of photons, moving effortlessly through the fabric of space, at the universe's ultimate speed. The other is a neuron signal, a ripple of electricity, pulsing down a fragile fiber within the human body, slower, but no less important. They are both travelers. Both carry messages, but their journeys could not be more different. Light is pure speed, 300,000 kilometers every single second. It has no weight, no mass, nothing to slow it down. It flies across galaxies, across oceans of time. The light from the sun takes just over 8 minutes to reach Earth. The light from distant stars may wander millions of years before it finally arrives in your eyes. Neurons, by contrast, are bound by biology. A nerve impulse begins with ions moving across the delicate membrane of a cell. This wave of charged particles moves along the axon, a process called an action potential. It is clever, it is reliable, but it is far slower than light. Even the fastest signals in the nervous system, coded in myelin, leaping from one node to the next in a process called saltatory conduction, move only around 120 meters per second. That is swift enough to make life feel instant, but compared to light, it is almost as if the neuron is walking while light is flying. And yet, both messengers matter deeply. Without light, we would see nothing of the universe. Without neurons, we would know nothing of ourselves. So when we compare them, we are not only comparing speeds, we are comparing two ways the universe tells its stories. One through radiant beams across space, the other through quiet sparks within the human mind. Let us gently bring these comparisons into the world we live in each day. Imagine a summer morning. Sunlight streams through your window, falling across your skin. In that instant, photons of light have traveled from the sun across millions of kilometers of empty space to finally land upon you. Almost instantly, your eyes capture this light. The retina transforms it into nerve impulses, and those impulses travel down the optic nerve into your brain. There, the signals create the image of morning light. First came the photons, then the neurons. Together, they completed the chain. Now picture lightning flashing across the sky. Light from the bolt reaches your eyes in less than a blink, but the sound of thunder travels much slower through the air. Your nerves carry the light's arrival almost instantly into awareness, while the rumbling sound lags behind. This is why we so often see lightning before we hear thunder. Even in something as simple as a conversation, both travelers are at play. When someone smiles at you, light bounces from their face into your eyes. The neurons in your visual system translate those photons into signals. Your brain interprets them as joy, kindness, familiarity. Then Your own neurons send signals to the muscles of your mouth, and you smile back. The chain of light and nerve creates a loop of human connection. It is remarkable that the fastest thing in the cosmos and the slower signals of the nervous system come together seamlessly in daily life. So seamless that we never notice the difference in their speeds. Think of it this way. Light is the world's message rushing toward you. Neurons are your body's answer, rising gently in response. And now, let us rest in the quiet poetry of comparing neurons to light. Light is impersonal. It shines equally on everyone, everywhere. It carries no judgment, no preference. It simply moves faithfully across the endless fabric of the cosmos. Neurons are deeply personal. Each thought, each memory, each choice is built upon the signals that pass through your unique network. Where light belongs to the stars, neurons belong to you. And yet, the two meet in every moment of perception. Every sight you have ever seen, every face, every book, every sunset was made possible because photons met your neurons, the fastest messenger in the universe, handing its message to the slower, more fragile messenger inside you. Together, they created your experience of the world. In a sense, neurons and light are partners in awareness. Light brings the world to your eyes. Neurons bring that world into your mind. Yes, their speeds are unimaginably different, but perhaps that difference is a kind of harmony. If neurons move at the speed of light, perhaps thought would be too sharp, too overwhelming, too much information, with no time to feel, to reflect, to wonder. Instead, thought lingers. It unfolds at a pace the human spirit can bear. So when we compare neurons to light, we are not only comparing speed, we are comparing meaning. Light is the messenger of the stars. Neurons are the messengers of the soul. And both in their own way are miracles. There is something quietly mysterious about the way our thoughts arrive. One moment, we seem to be waiting. The very next, a memory, a decision, an idea, seems to be there, fully formed, as if it appeared out of thin air. It feels instant, effortless, almost magical. But is it really instant? Or is the brain performing an elegant illusion? To understand this, let us step softly into the flow of time inside the mind. Imagine holding out your hand and touching a warm cup of tea. The heat on your skin is felt almost immediately. The neurons in your sensory system carry the signal toward your spinal cord and up into your brain. There, networks of neurons interpret the sensation, connecting it with memories of warmth, safety, or comfort. And before you have time to analyze, you're already thinking, this is warm, this is pleasant. The entire sequence took perhaps a fraction of a second, but to you it felt instantaneous. Why? Because the brain does not mark time the way the outside world does. Instead, it smooths over delays, it blends signals, and it presents them as a seamless whole. By the time you are aware of a thought, the brain has already completed a great deal of background work. Awareness arrives late. Yet the mind disguises this lateness by giving you the sensation of immediacy. This is why thoughts feel instant. The brain hides its processing time, like a magician concealing the preparation behind a trick, so that the final reveal seems sudden, magical, and effortless. Let us explore this feeling more closely with the gentle light of examples. Imagine walking down a street, when suddenly you see a friend in the distance. In less than a heartbeat, you recognize them. It feels as if recognition happened instantly. But in reality, your brain had to analyze the shape of their face, the way they moved, the subtle patterns in their clothing. It compared all these details against stored memories of your friend. Only after this careful work did recognition rise to the surface. Yet, you never noticed the processing. To you, it was simply instant recognition. Or consider catching a ball. Someone throws it toward you, and before you consciously think about it, your hand moves to catch. Your brain has already calculated the ball's speed, its angle, its arc of flight. It has sent commands down your motor neurons to prepare your muscles. By the time you are consciously aware, I should catch this, your hand is already moving. Again, it feels instant, but it was only instant to your awareness, not to your neurons. Perhaps the clearest example is language. When someone asks you a question, often you reply immediately, but your brain has had to search for the right words, check them against grammar, and line them up in the correct order. Yet to you, it feels as if the answer simply appeared. Each of these moments is a reminder that thought is not truly instant. It is carefully prepared, and only once it is ready does it appear in consciousness, like a performance on a stage. The stage feels magical, but backstage, many hands were at work. To close this keynote, let us drift softly into the science that explains this illusion of instant thought. Neuroscientists have discovered something fascinating. There is always a slight delay between an event happening in the world and our awareness of it. For vision, the delay is about 1/10 of a second. That means when you see a bird fly across the sky, you're actually seeing the past by a fraction of a second. But your brain does not leave it at that. It predicts forward, it fills in the gaps so that you feel you are experiencing the present. This predictive ability is part of why thoughts feel immediate. Your brain is constantly running ahead, guessing what is about to happen and preparing responses. When the actual signals arrive, they match the prediction closely enough, and so your awareness feels seamless, smooth, instant. Even the feeling of making a decision has this quality. Experiments show that the brain begins preparing a choice before you are aware of deciding. By the time you feel like you made the decision, much of the work has already been done unconsciously. The awareness arrives after the fact. But again, the mind disguises this lateness as immediacy. It is as if the brain is a careful editor of time. It trims the rough edges, it hides the waiting, and it presents the finished story as something whole, immediate and beautiful. And perhaps that is exactly as it should be. If we noticed every delay, every pause, every calculation, life would feel disjointed, clumsy, mechanical. Instead, the brain gives us the gift of flow. It allows us to believe in the poetry of instant thought. So when a memory rises or a decision arrives, or an idea blossoms seemingly out of nowhere, it is not truly instant. It is a graceful work of countless neurons, hidden just below awareness. It is the quiet art of the brain, a performance so smooth, so seamless that it feels like magic. And perhaps that illusion is one of the most comforting mysteries of being human. The universe is vast, and yet some of its most profound mysteries live not in the stars above, but in the tiniest spaces beneath. There is a world beneath the visible, beneath even the reach of ordinary microscopes. A world so small, so delicate, so puzzling that its rules seem unlike anything we know in daily life. This is a quantum world. Here, particles behave not like solid stones or marbles, but like whispers, shadows, possibilities. A single electron may seem to be in many places at once, until observed. A photon of light may act as both a wave and a particle, a duality that feels impossible and yet is undeniably true. And the act of looking, of observing, can change the outcome. It is here that curiosity blooms. For in this strange realm, Time itself feels different. Space feels uncertain, and cause and effect blur, like a dream half remembered. When we ask if thought could be faster than light, some eyes turn toward this quantum world, because here, odd things happen, things that appear to defy ordinary limits. Consider quantum entanglement. Two particles, once linked, may remain connected across vast distances. Change one, and the other seems to respond instantly, no matter how far apart they are. Einstein himself called this spooky action at a distance. It seemed to him impossible, and yet experiments confirm it happens. This is not the same as sending a message faster than light, but to human imagination, it whispers of hidden connections, unseen speeds, mysterious threads weaving across space. To sit with quantum mechanics is to sit with wonder. It is not fully understood, even by those who dedicate their lives to it. And yet in its strangeness, it offers us a mirror, showing how little we truly know and how vast a universe of possibilities may be. Let us drift into gentle stories that bring the quantum world closer to our nightly thoughts. Imagine, for a moment, that your mind is like a great library. Each shelf holds countless books, memories, ideas, feelings, dreams. In ordinary life, you open one book at a time, reading it clearly. But in the quantum library, all the books might be open at once, their words overlapping like waves. Only when you choose, only when you look, does one story rise into clarity. This is much like the principle of superposition, particles existing in many possible states, until observed. Or imagine two dancers who once shared a stage. Even after they part ways, across cities or oceans, they remain mysteriously linked. Each time one moves, the other responds, as though still connected by invisible rhythm. This is a gentle picture of entanglement. Though the dancers are apart, something deeper binds them. Children sometimes ask, does this mean we could think to each other across galaxies instantly? The answer from science is no, not in any way we know how to use. Entanglement cannot send a usable message faster than light. And yet, the idea stirs us, because it suggests that at the heart of reality, connection is more mysterious, more profound than we once believed. And there are other wonders too. Quantum tunneling, where a particle slips through a barrier it should not cross. Quantum uncertainty, where the very act of measuring one quality, like position, makes another, like momentum, uncertain. Each of these ideas feels like a puzzle piece from another universe. A universe where rules bend and shimmer, and where our ordinary sense of time and space no longer fully apply. For the human mind, these stories matter, because they remind us that thought, too, sometimes leaps, sometimes moves as if faster than it should, sometimes feels as though it tunnels through obstacles. Quantum mechanics does not explain thought directly, but it offers a language of mystery, one that mirrors the way thinking itself often feels. And now, let us rest in the gentle poetry of quantum curiosity. Perhaps what matters most is not whether thought literally travels faster than light. Perhaps what matters is that the universe leaves space for us to wonder. The quantum world shows us that reality is stranger than our common sense expects, that even the smallest particles can dance to rhythms beyond our understanding, that certainty is not always possible, and that mystery is woven into the very fabric of existence. To live as a curious human is to embrace this mystery, to accept that not all questions will be answered, but that every question opens a doorway into wonder. When you feel a thought arrive instantly in your mind, perhaps it is not faster than light. Perhaps it is simply the echo of countless neurons working in silence, delivering awareness in a polished moment. And yet, The feeling of speed, the feeling of suddenness, carries with it a quantum flavor, something elusive, something uncanny, something that makes us pause and smile. At bedtime, as you drift toward dreams, quantum curiosity invites you to rest in the unknown, not to solve it, not to rush it, but to cradle it gently, like a glowing lantern in the dark. The light of curiosity does not need to outrun anything. It only needs to shine softly, steadily, guiding us toward wonder. So when you ask yourself, is human thought faster than light? Remember this. Even if the answer is no, the question itself is beautiful. It reminds us that thought is not bound only by speed. It is bound by imagination, by wonder, by the limitless human desire to explore. And sometimes that is faster in its own way than anything else in the universe. Close your eyes, if you wish, and imagine for a moment that you are standing on the shore of an endless ocean. The waves are calm, the horizon is wide, and the sky stretches in quiet colors. Now, imagine yourself lifting from that shore, floating gently above the waves and rising higher into the sky. In an instant, you can see the whole ocean, the whole earth, even the curve of the planet itself. How long did it take for you to travel? No seconds, no minutes, no hours. Imagination moves without the weight of time. This is the secret of imagination. It does not obey the same rules as light or neurons or any physical traveler. It is not bound by distance or delay. You can be here and then without effort, there. Science tells us that imagination is still carried on the signals of neurons, which are slower than light. But the feeling of imagination, the experience of it, moves as if faster than anything, because the brain does not require the actual journey to create the image. It only needs to weave together memory, possibility, and creativity all at once. And so, imagination feels immediate, infinite, and weightless. One thought becomes a world. One memory becomes a story. One spark becomes a universe. This is why the speed of imagination seems to surpass even the speed of light, not in physics, but in experience. Let us look gently at the ways imagination carries us faster than any traveler ever could. A child sits in a classroom, gazing at the blackboard. The lesson may be slow, the minutes ticking by, but in her mind, she has already flown to distant planets, ridden on the back of a dragon, and discovered hidden treasure beneath the sea. Her body remains still, but her imagination has leapt across galaxies in the space of a heartbeat. Or picture an artist staring at a blank canvas. In the real world, the paintbrush has not yet moved, but in his mind, colors swirl, shapes emerge, entire landscapes appear instantly. What takes weeks to paint may exist already, in an instant, in imagination. Even in simple daydreams, we feel this speed. As you sit quietly, you may suddenly recall your childhood home. You walk its rooms, smell the scent of the kitchen, hear the voices of loved ones. And then, without pause, you imagine a future trip to a city you have never seen, wandering its streets, tasting its food. In just a few breaths, imagination has taken you backward decades and forward years. No plane, no train, no beam of light could ever carry you so quickly. But thought, in the form of imagination, does so effortlessly. This is why imagination feels limitless, because in the realm of mind, time and space collapse. Past, present, and future are all within reach. And so imagination becomes a kind of travel faster in feeling than anything else we know. And now, let us rest in the quiet science that lies beneath this beautiful illusion. The brain is a prediction machine, always weaving signals together. When we imagine, We are not bound by incoming light or sound. Instead, the brain uses memory networks, blending them with creative recombination. In this way, imagination bypasses the waiting of the outside world. It does not need to wait for light to arrive or for sound to travel. It creates instantly from within. Neuroscience shows that when we imagine, the same regions of brain often activate as when we perceive reality. The visual cortex may light up when you imagine a sunset. The auditory cortex may activate when you imagine a melody. But because there is no external signal traveling across space, the experience feels immediate. It is like skipping the journey and stepping straight into arrival. This explains why imagination feels faster than light. Not because neurons move more quickly, but because they do not need the travel time that light requires. A star's light may take thousands of years to reach your eyes, but your imagination can place you among the stars this very moment. And so, imagination grants humanity something extraordinary. It allows us to move beyond limits, to explore ideas, futures, and worlds that no light could yet deliver. It allows us to create, to invent, to dream. Perhaps this is why imagination is so central to being human, because it offers us a freedom unlike any other, the freedom to move instantly, boundlessly, into any world we choose. So when you wonder if thought is faster than light, remember this. In imagination, it surely feels that way. It feels as though your mind can cross galaxies in the space of a heartbeat, as though you can live lifetimes in a moment, as though you can be anywhere, anywhen, with a quiet flicker of thought. And maybe that feeling is its own truth, for imagination may not outrun light in physics, but in the soft universe of human experience, it is the swiftest traveler of all. When we think of the brain, we often imagine it as a kind of library, a place where memories are stored, where knowledge rests, where thoughts are recalled when needed. But modern science paints a gentler, more dynamic picture. The brain is not only a place of storage, it is also a place of constant prediction. Moment by moment, the brain is looking ahead, anticipating what might happen next. It listens to the heartbeat, the rhythm of breath, the shifting of muscles. It gathers signals from the eyes, ears, skin, nose, and tongue. And with all of this, it weaves a soft forecast, a quiet guess about the very next moment. This is why, when you catch a ball, your hand is already moving before you consciously decide. Why, when you walk downstairs, your legs know how far to step before you look. Why, when you listen to a sentence, you often know the next word before it arrives. The brain predicts constantly, effortlessly, invisibly, and in this way, it is like a time traveler, always leaning slightly forward into the next instant. This predictive nature may be one reason thoughts feel so quick, so nearly instant, because the brain is already waiting at the finish line, before the race has even begun. Imagine you are sitting in a quiet cafe. You hear the soft clink of a spoon against a cup, the low hum of voices around you, and then you hear the sound of someone drawing breath, as if about to speak your name. Before the word even forms, your brain has predicted what it will be. You turn your head, already expecting, or picture yourself walking in the forest. The ground is uneven, scattered with roots and stones. But your eyes scan ahead, and your brain quietly prepares each step. By the time your foot lands, your muscles are already tuned to the surface they will meet. You walk smoothly because your brain has predicted the earth beneath you. Even in conversation, prediction dances softly. When someone pauses mid-sentence, you often feel the word they are about to say. You may even whisper it in your mind before they speak it aloud. This is a predictive brain, leaning into time, filling in the silence before sound arrives. These predictions are not always right. Sometimes the ball bounces differently than expected. The step is shorter than imagined. The word is not the one you thought. But most of the time, the brain's guesses are close enough to create a seamless world. It is this seamlessness that makes thought feel instant. The brain is already smooth over the edges, already painted in the missing strokes, so that awareness arrives to a finished picture. Like an artist who sketches the outline before filling in the color, the brain lays down the future. And then, when the present arrives, it fits softly into place. Now, let us rest in the poetry of this idea. The brain as a prediction machine means that we are always living slightly ahead of ourselves. We are never quite in the raw present, but in a present softened by expectation, smoothed by gentle guesses. When you listen to music, your brain is already leaning toward the next note. When you watch a sunset, your mind is already painting how the colors will fade. When you imagine tomorrow, you are already predicting how it may feel. Perhaps this is why time flows so gracefully for us, not as a series of disjointed instants, but as a continuous river, because the brain is a hidden hand that smooths the ripples, fills the gaps, and carries us along. And maybe this is why human thought feels faster than light, not because it truly is, but because we are already ahead of ourselves. By the time we notice a thought, the brain has already prepared it, already rehearsed it, already placed it gently into awareness. This makes the mind feel like a lantern, always glowing a step ahead in the dark. And in that glow, life feels immediate, fluid, whole. So when you wonder about the speed of thought, remember this quiet truth. Your brain is not just recording life, it is predicting it. And in this prediction lies the beautiful illusion of speed, of instantaneity, of thought that seems to outrun time itself. Science is one of humanity's brightest lanterns. With it, we have lit the darkness, peered into the smallest particles, and gazed across the farthest galaxies. It is through science that we know the speed of light, that we can measure the rhythm of the heartbeat, that we can trace the path of signals through the nervous system. Science gives us clarity. It allows us to see patterns where once there was only chaos. It lets us build machines, medicines, telescopes, and theories. It reassures us that the universe is order, that the world is woven with rules, that with patient observation and careful testing, truth can be uncovered. When we ask, is human thought faster than light? Science offers us tools. It tells us how fast neurons fire. It shows us the limits of matter, energy, and signal speed. It allows us to compare, to calculate, to measure, and yet science does not claim to answer everything. It shines brightly. But even the brightest lantern can illuminate only so much of the night. Beyond its circle of light, mystery still waits. And that mystery is just as essential to the human spirit as knowledge itself. Mystery is the quiet shadow that surrounds all discovery. It is a reminder that no matter how much we know, there is always more beyond. For centuries, people believed Earth was the center of the universe. Science shifted that view, showing the sun at the center of our system, and later revealing billions of galaxies beyond. Each discovery solved a question, and yet opened hundreds more. In the world of the brain, mystery is everywhere. We know neurons fire with electricity. We know they pass signals across synapses with tiny chemical messengers. But how does this become a memory, a decision, a thought of love, or the taste of sweetness? Here, mystery remains. Even in physics, the same story unfolds. We can measure particles and accelerators, map forces, predict the movements of planets. And yet, when we look at quantum entanglement or dark matter, or the question of what happened before the Big Bang, we find ourselves standing once again at the edge of mystery. Mystery is not an enemy of science. It is its companion. Without mystery, science would have nothing left to seek. Without science, mystery would remain unspoken, unseen. So when thought feels faster than light, science tells us it is not in the physical sense. But mystery whispers, perhaps there is more than speed alone to consider. Perhaps imagination, awareness, and wonder move along paths we do not yet measure. Now let us rest in the poetry of balance. To be human is to stand between two landscapes, the land of knowledge and the land of wonder. In one hand we hold science, steady, methodical, practical. In the other, we hold mystery, vast, quiet, infinite. When we lean too heavily on science alone, we may forget the beauty of not knowing. We may forget that unanswered questions give life its depth. When we lean too heavily on mystery alone, we may lose the grounding of evidence, the guidance of clarity, the lantern that helps us move forward. Together, they form harmony. Science explains how neurons fire. Mystery lets us marvel at the sudden spark of an idea. Science measures the speed of light. Mystery asks why light itself exists at all. In the soft space between them, thought lives, not faster than light, not slower than nerve, but exactly where science meets mystery. So when you ask yourself if human thought could outrun light, science will remind you gently of neurons, synapses, conduction speeds. Mystery will remind you of dreams, imagination, and the ineffable feeling of thought arriving in a heartbeat. And perhaps both are right, in their own way. For thought is both biological and poetic, both measurable and unmeasurable, both a process and a wonder. And in that balance we find the essence of being human. From the earliest days of humankind, long before science had names, and long before equations drew lines across chalkboards, there was wonder. Picture a small child, thousands of years ago, standing under the night sky. There are no city lights, no telescopes, no laboratories. There is only the vast velvet darkness and a river of stars flowing endlessly above. The child looks upward and feels it. That unspoken question, that soft and trembling awe. What are those lights? Why are they there? How do they shine? That moment, fragile and timeless, is the beginning of wonder. It is wonder that stirred ancient humans to paint the walls of caves, drawing suns and moons, spirals and constellations. It is wonder that made them tell stories of gods, spirits, and heroes crossing the skies. It is wonder that led them to build stone circles and monuments, aligned carefully with the rising sun or the turning seasons. Before there was science, there was wonder. And even now, with all the tools of modern physics and neuroscience, wonder remains. It is not diminished by knowledge. It is deepened by it. When we ask if human thought is faster than light, it is wonder that makes the question so alive. Science can give us calculations, but wonder gives us meaning. It is wonder that transforms a technical question into a dreamlike exploration. Wonder is the first spark. It is the flame that lights the lantern of science. Without it, there would be no curiosity, no searching, no discovery. And so, even at the end of this long journey, we must return to that simple, childlike awe, the beginning of all knowing. It is easy to look at stars, galaxies, or the sweep of cosmic light and feel wonder. But wonder also lives inside us, inside the folds of the brain, in the dance of neurons, in the quiet of thought itself. Pause for a moment and consider that every memory you have, every story you carry, every voice you have ever heard, is written in the soft tissue of your brain. Tiny sparks of electricity move across microscopic pathways, and somehow, out of this, comes music poetry, laughter, sorrow. Science had described the firing of a neuron, the chemical exchange across a synapse. But wonder steps in and whispers, how is it that this cold biology becomes warm and living experience? How is it that vibrations in the air become the sound of a loved one's voice? How is it that a flash of light on the retina becomes the glow of a sunset? Even the speed of thought, whether slower than light or not, becomes a kind of mystery to wonder at. Because the truth is, we do not simply think in speed. We think in colors, in shapes, in symbols, in feelings. Our mind is not a stopwatch. It is a canvas, and wonder is the paint that colors it. Think of imagination. You can close your eyes right now, and in less than a heartbeat, you can imagine standing on a beach, hearing waves roll in. Your body is here, lying in your bed, but your mind is already somewhere else. Is that faster than light? Science says no, but wonder smiles and says, it feels like flight. It is this inner wonder that keeps us human. It is why we dream, why we create, why we hope. It is a soft reminder that within us is a universe as vast as the one outside. Now, let us step into the gentle ending, where wonder and peace fold together. Every question answered opens another. Every mystery solved reveals deeper layers. And so, human wonder is not a moment, but a journey. It has no finish line. It moves through centuries, across generations, through every child who has ever looked at the stars and whispered, why? When we think about thought and light, about speed and slowness, about brain and cosmos, we are not simply asking for facts. We are reaching for belonging. We are reaching for a sense of place in the great unfolding of existence. Light travels at nearly 300,000 kilometers every second. Neurons fire at a fraction of that. But wonder moves differently. It does not measure itself in kilometers per second. It measures itself in heartbeats, in stories, in the widening of eyes. Wonder is a bridge between science and mystery. It is what makes discovery joyful, what makes learning alive, what makes silence comforting. It tells us that we do not need all the answers tonight, that sometimes resting the question is enough. And so, as this exploration comes to a close, let wonder be your companion. As you drift into sleep, let it stay beside you like a soft lantern, not a dazzle with answers, but to comfort with its glow. For wonder is not only about galaxies or neurons, it is about you. You, here now, lying quietly, listening to a voice carry you into rest. You, breathing slowly, gently. You, wrapped in mystery, wrapped in science, wrapped in the simple beauty of being alive. And with that, dear listener, may your thoughts tonight be light, unhurried, and full of quiet wonder. May your dreams be gentle, like rivers of stars. May your rest be deep. Good night and goodbye, softly, peacefully, always with wonder.